Welcome to Season 4 of Your Next Mission video podcast. We have a great show for you today that everyone who is thinking about joining the Army needs to see. We have Major David Huffman and Major Sheena Rubin will be joining us today from the Army Enterprise Marketing Office to talk about the new marketing initiative, Be All You Can Be. I love it already.
What does it mean when people say America is a land of opportunity?
It means the power to discover,
To redefine yourself.
To improve yourself.
to challenge yourself.
To realize there's more in you
than you ever knew
that you could do.
Means giving people an open field to explore what they do best.
With the best tools,
The best training.
the best technology in the world.
We bring out the best in the people who serve.
so you can be
All you can be.
They'll reveal the inner workings of the campaign, how it was developed, and the history behind Be All You Can Be. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Your Next Mission video podcast, where we tell the stories of those who have served in the past and those who are serving today. From transition to financial wellness, VA benefits to mental health, we cover issues facing veterans, active military, and their families. Now here's your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army and co-founder of the American Freedom Foundation, Jack L. Tilley.
Hello out there, warriors past and present, and your families, and thank you for your service to our great country. Now, before we get started, I personally want to thank our presenting sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union and Purdue University Global, for making Your Next Mission happen. They love our veterans family. I'm going to say it every week. We love them too. As I said earlier, we have a great show. We have a wonderful show. We're going to be focusing on Army marketing. And I'm so excited to introduce Major David K. Huffman, Army Brand Manager, and Major Sheena L. Rubin, enlisted, I like that already, enlisted product manager from the Army Marketing Office. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us, SMA.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right, you guys got to be pumped up like me now. Don't hold back yet. Get a little angry here. We have a lot to talk about today, but before we do that, would each one of you tell us a little bit about yourself? And Major Rubin, we're going to start with you.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And thanks again so much for having us here today, Sergeant Major. It's quite an honor to finally meet you. I was a young specialist way back when, so I wasn't listed myself. So we'll start there.
All right.
Yeah, we'll start there. So I'm a prior service, attained the rank of E6 in the Army Reserve, 75 Hotel for good measure. So that tells you a little bit of my age there. I direct commissioned over also as an Army civilian working for a cadet command. So I've seen the whole gamut in my 21 years of combined service here now. As you mentioned, I do serve as the enlisted product manager, so I interface mostly with USEREC and with TRADOC to try and serve as like the stakeholders' mouthpiece, trying to also determine their requirements and the correct messaging for the target audience we're trying to reach here, today's youth and their influencers.
There you go. Thank you, man. Major, you're on, sir. Go ahead. Tell me about the armor stuff here. Wait a minute.
That's right. Hey, thank you so much for having us on. So, Major David Huffman, I am an FA 58, that's Functional Area 58, Marketing and Behavioral Economics Officer. In a previous life, I started off my Army career as a medic, became an armor officer, then a military intelligence officer, most recently with an operational assignment to Fort Knox with the Big Red 1. And I've been here in Chicago at Army Marketing for the last 3 years working on the Army brand refresh. So thank you so much for having us. Very, very excited to be here.
You know, we got two connections there. One, I was in the 1st Infantry Division, A Troop Quarter Cav, and the second one, you're an armor officer. Major Rubin, I got connection with you too, but I get a little bit more because he's an armor kind of guy here. So, hey, Major Huffman, I'm old enough to remember Be All You Can Be. In fact, I'm old enough to remember We Want You back then in the day there. That was a tagline for the Army ads back in the day. Why did you decide to bring it back to the new Army marketing campaign? I mean, it's a great idea, but why?
We decided to roll this out as a part of the larger Be All You Can Be Army brand refresh. The Army as a brand is both timeless and it is timely. It is timeless. It's a brand that is 248 years old, has 248 years worth of history and relationship with the American people as of this June. And it's timely. It's never been more relevant. I think the need to acquire talent for current and future challenges has never been more relevant for us. Be All You Can Be gets after both that timelessness as well as the timeliness of the brand. Additionally, anytime that you roll out a brand, anytime that you refresh the brand, it has to ring authentic. And so I think for those of us who are serving, those of us who have served in the past, the idea that the Army is a place where you can indeed become the best version of yourself is something that really, really rings authentic. And so this rollout is a part of that larger reintroduction of America to its Army. And it is a reintroduction of that powerful truth that the Army is indeed a place where you can become.
Yeah, I like the fact that you said be all. When I look at myself, I'll talk about it in a little while, but the Army changed my life, and I always tell people it saved my life and allowed me to be hopefully a pretty good adult now. But it really did a lot for me that I don't think I could have did that in the civilian life because I wasn't going in the right direction. So I always tell people there's three things that really motivate me: God, my family, and the United States Army. So God bless you for bringing it back. I think it's a great ad, and I think it'll resonate with a lot of young adults out there, and I think it probably already has. Major Rubin, how has the really the response been so far in the campaign so far with regard to really the brand awareness and the impressions that you're getting from younger adults?
Yeah, but before we get into that, if I could go back to a point you just made, though, you talked about how this resonates with the youth, right? So if you could tell them the voting, how we went to this with the actual research and the surveys that were done, and who will actually pick this to come back. That's a good point to bring up here.
Yeah. So we took a look at a number of different audiences. We know that this is much, much larger than just a marketing campaign. So we're very, very interested in prospects and influencers. We're interested in acquiring talent. But when you talk about the Army as a brand, you're talking about a number of different stakeholders. You're talking about stakeholders across the nation. So you're talking, we specifically looked at 5 different audiences. We looked at prospects, we looked at influencers. Additionally, we looked at soldiers, those who wear the uniform. We looked at veterans, and we looked at the American people. And we looked at soldiers, and we looked at veterans. We looked at those who currently serve and those who have served, because they are frankly our best brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
When we think about what is the goal of this, we need to get the ambassadors on board because they are the people best suited to be able to attest to the fact that the Army does fulfill that promise, if you will, that brand promise, to help you become the best version of yourself, both in the service as well as launching you forward into whatever comes next.
Yeah. Okay. Ma'am, you can answer your question now, in regard to the brand awareness and impressions. I know you try to keep him straight, I guess, but
no, that's a great.
But it's important to let everybody know why and where and who you want to reach and who your stakeholders are. Now, I think that's really important because, again, when you're talking about young adults, they want to know, and I hate to say this, but it's true, they want to know what's in it for me. What am I going to get out of that? How are you going to change my life? So go ahead, ma'am.
Yes. And we look at all that in all marketing activities we do. We have the segmentation model that looks at the motivators, the deterrers, and why people want to serve, the reasons to believe. That's a fair point that we'll get into later on, too, talking about some future ways I want to take things with like influencer type research. But going back to your initial question on pretty much how the campaign has been performing thus far. So we are just shy of receiving our 30-day initial analysis, the official one, where we have been performing in market. But I will say the first week report was phenomenal. Phenomenal. From just the paid channels that all launched on 12 March. So the official announcement with the Secretary of the Army and our ASLs was on 8 March. And we launched all of our paid media, all our channels, online digital, on 12 March. That first week was surpassed. That was our biggest PR day in AMO history, I like to say, right? Yeah. And we tracked about over 200 million impressions during that first week alone.
You said 200 million? Is that what you said? Wow.
So we had 200. Yes, and a big thing too, I will say we had a great partnership with NCAA, Selection Sunday. So the whole partnership we have with NCAA. So this season alone, especially the women's, if you follow basketball, great viewership across the board for the games, for the tournaments. So we're able to leverage that with the partnerships for our media buys and our on-site activations we'll get into later on as well. So initially, from a PR perspective, digital, online media, social, phenomenal performance.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is you can actually track what the age group is that's looking at your website, right? 18 to 24, 18 to 50. Do you get a lot of parents that are looking at that impressions on Be All You Can Be, or comments from parents?
So I will say for the comment side, so we have our social media team and they do the social listening and we get the stats from there. One stat that sticks out to me now is they brief, it was 95% agreement with the campaign launch. So that includes your positive and your neutral commentary. So, hey, bring it back. I've been looking at the old ads on YouTube all this time. Finally, you brought it back. hey, this resonates with me. So it's been pretty good across the gamut from old, middle-aged, and young, to tell you the truth, which is good. It's telling because we need that full funnel range of the actual support to not only recommend service, but support service as well. So we need both ends, the youth to join and those life influencers, parents, coaches, teachers, and so forth to recommend service as well.
Yeah, I've got to ask, have you got anything negative? I mean, has all been positive that you got from
No, of course, there's always going to be something or some reason. Hey, I want to see the retro look come back. You didn't do it the right way. You're messing with the old be all you can be. I knew that. We knew that. But it's different. We have to appeal to Gen Z and rising Gen Alpha, to give it that look and feel. But I think it was a pretty good job here, bringing it back with a new spin for the refresh.
Yeah, right. And I think one of the things is we did not just do a recreation; we reinvented it, and we reinvented it for a new audience. We took the foundation, and I think the foundation itself is what's most compelling. But we did create it with the current generation in mind. It's refreshed for new parents, new influencers, as well as new youth.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Based on what you said before, BLUP is a brand refresh, and that's what you're talking about right now. I mean, it's really a fresh idea. Can I ask who come up with the idea? Just didn't pop into your brain. Somebody said, "Well, we got to go back to this," or
so it's based on research.
It's based on what now?
Based on research.
Oh, research. Okay.
So we did quite a bit of brand research in the year 2020. We interviewed over 6,000 different parents and influencers to understand how does the Army sit, how does the Army feel, how does the Army perform in terms of some of the key brand metrics? Where do we stand? One of the things that we found was, and the whole impetus behind this is that when we asked youth and we asked their parents and influencers, we asked them, what do you value out of a career? What are the things that are most important to you? We found that things like purpose and passion, things like community and connection were most important to them. Then we asked them, how well does the Army deliver on these things? How well does the Army deliver on these key attributes that you are looking for? What we found was youth attributed different things to the Army. They attributed things like physical difficulty and challenge. They did not attribute things like purpose, passion, community, and connection. They didn't believe that the Army delivers on those. And for us, those of us who are serving, those of us who have served in every capacity, I think we by and large agree, and the reason why the campaign's doing so well is we by and large agree that the Army actually does fulfill those two things. It does give you a sense of purpose. It does give you a community. I mean, we're on this podcast right now because of the long-lasting aspect of that community. So this is what really kicked it off, is that foundational brand research in 2020 that identified that we have this huge opportunity in front of us to be able to reposition the brand towards something that reflects what the Army actually stands for, which is providing purpose and providing community.
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
Sorry. Along with that too, if I could, like everything we do is tied to a gap we're trying to close. So all those things you just mentioned here, we want to always close a gap. If you're familiar with our prior ad, Know Your Army, which you might saw the campfire scene, the home loan scene, things like that, knowledge gap, that's benefits based. But we have a culture gap, we have a relatability gap. So how do we narrow that gap to appeal to the youth as well as the influencers? All backed by research.
Yeah, one of the things that we did a show this morning, one of the things we talked about is how many veterans are out there. I think there's 17 million veterans, maybe closer to 18 million. I got the number this morning. And about 9 million of them use the VA as far as benefits anyway. It seems to me that would be a large audience for you to reach, that veteran community. I mean, you mentioned it just a second ago, but that would be one that you really want to, reach out to and get assistance from.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I think as we developed this, so that foundational research kicked off the project itself. We still had to develop, the entire brand refresh. So the brand refresh encompasses both, we talked about the tagline and that foundation, but it's also a new look and feel. So we have an updated color palette. We have we have an updated logo, a modernized logo. And it needed to resonate with all those 5 different audiences, of which veterans was one of the critical audiences. So when we tested a number of different taglines. We tested a number of different logos. We tested a number of different looks and feels for the Army brand refresh. We tested that with veterans very specifically and very deliberately because we knew we needed to get that community on board because, as you said, there are 17 million of them, and they are our best brand ambassadors because they can really help. One of the things we see from youth is they see the Army as a limiter, and it's frankly, unless you have somebody that you've served that is an immediate family member that served with you, it's kind of a black box. It's kind of containerized, set apart. So veterans are some of our our best brand ambassadors to be able to break down that separation and dispel a lot of the myths that go into.
Yeah. One of the I didn't mean to cut you off, but one of the issues that I've always had is that, being a former sergeant major of the Army, they reach out to me and they talk to me and they sort of keep me involved and updated with stuff that's going on. But a larger group, maybe a sergeant first class or a first sergeant, we don't really touch them. And those are the people that are out there in the communities that are, presidents of companies, running businesses, doing all those kind of things. And it it's always bothered me that we as an Army don't really touch all those people as much as we should do. And I'm not sure there's a way to do that. I wish there was a better way to do that. Any thoughts about that?
I think that's a fair point. When we get into leaning forward into fiscal year 25 or beyond, I did develop a requirement with the advisement of leadership here of trying to identify who is the target audience from an influencer perspective. Who do I need to talk to? How do I message them? Where do they reside? Is that the parents only? Is it the grandmas? When you figure out what in the family member, who is it? So like you said, typically when you see a veteran type ad go out, it features, an officer for the most part that has retired and become successful and gone on. But like you just said right now, Sergeant Major, you have those senior enlisted or some people who didn't do a full 20, but they're still veterans in the community that can actually help us and support the mission and message what can happen. It can show the possibilities. Hey, I served 1-term, 2-term careers, whatever, and I was successful, and here's why. We need to tell all those stories because it may resonate better with the youth across the board.
Yeah. One other thing, I don't want to plug myself, but I will here just for a second. A guy like me, been out of the military close to 20 years now. On LinkedIn, I have like 11 or 12,000 followers. On Facebook, I guess 8 or 9,000. And we're trying to move that number up. Every day we're moving that number up. And I wouldn't say there's a lot of people. There's quite a few people like me that served in the military that I think would probably put everything out, as much information out there to our civilian counterparts and tell us to educate people more about the military. One of the things I've always amazed me is that nothing about marketing. It's that we sometimes talk to ourselves and we don't talk to the vast audience of our country. And I think we're doing a better job of that. Anyway, just a personal thing. I tried to work on it when I was on active duty. I didn't do a very good job, of course, but I think you're doing a much better job of that. Is the launch of this campaign foundation, can you continue building on it over the time?
Yeah, absolutely. This is, if you want to think about a chassis or the foundation, brand refresh is setting the foundation for what the Army brand looks like, for brand communication, for what it sounds like. Not every commercial from here on out is going to say, you can be able to just a little peek behind the curtain. Not every commercial that Nike runs says just do it. They have a number of different campaigns, but the foundational idea behind it will permeate every single campaign, every single piece of creative, because the campaign, the commercials that you see on TV are really just one aspect and one ever-growing smaller aspect of marketing overall. We have a number of different channels. You mentioned a number of social media channels, SMA.
Yeah.
That's becoming even more. It's continually increasing in terms of the importance, in terms of reach, in terms of, frankly, meeting prospects where they are experiencing the world. And so, brand refresh sets the foundation for what the Army looks and feels like on all these different platforms across the board. So not just the tagline, it's a little bit bigger than that, but it's it is helping to create a cohesive environment. I mean, frankly, to gain attention and to capture that attention in a world that has so many different things that we're competing with.
Yeah, Major Rubin. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a phased approach. I mean, we did the launch phase, of course. We're in the expand phase right now, and then we're going to sustain this thing. But even beyond that, I believe the initial brief we did was a 3-year approach for this entire the brand lift for the awareness and identity, right?
And one of the things is that we hope that a good brand refresh, you do it, has a long shelf life. You do it lasts for about 15 to 20 years. So 15 to 20 years, setting that key foundation, influencing things in terms of every single campaign is influenced by the foundation. The look and feel is influenced by it. So it is very much something to build off of. In fact, that's the foundation for building off of it in the future.
Yeah.
And another key point, too, is that we're top of the funnel national. So we still have to work with our partners in the session. Once again, talk to East Direct the most. So this thing goes on to their local level. So they have cut downs, of course. They have their own different in-cars to direct traffic towards that local recruiting station. We have events. So it's more than just the ad you see on social media and TV. It's a lot more that goes into it overall.
Yeah. Technology changes so fast. And really, I would think that you're probably monitoring young adults all the time to see what's current and what they're getting into. I think you said, 10 to 15 years on BLU can be. I would tell you that it may not last that long, even though I love it. But we have to change with the society, what society's looking at, what interests them. I remember years ago they came out with Army Strong or Army of One. That's what Army of One. Mm-hmm. And somebody said to me, he says, do you like Army of One? I said, no. And then he said, well, why not? You've started making. I said, it's not about me. It's about whether or not that resonates with young adults. And so if Be All You Can Be resonates with young adults, keep it as long as you can, but find the right thing to help our young adults in our community. And really, again, my point is that if you come into the Army, I guarantee if you're listening to this conversation right now, it'll change your life. It'll allow you to be whoever. I mean, I hear people all the time talking about dreams. I dream about doing whatever. If you have a dream of being a president of an organization or being a leader in a company, this is the best place for you to get the foundation in your life, right here in the United States Army. And there's no question about that. Hey, this is a great conversation. I'm motivated. You want to say something else? Go ahead. I'm pumped up, though.
Hopefully don't kill that motivation, SMA. But I think you said something that's super important, and that's the idea that change is happening, and it's happening really quickly. Yep. The iPhone came out in 2007. Yep. Instagram came out in 2010. That's part of this. Yep. We modernized the logo itself, and that's a direct reflection of that need to be able to maintain and keep up with what is changing and the vast amount of change that's happening so quickly.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Oh,
go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead, man.
No, like you said too, but let's be realistic here. Gen Alpha, which is the next generation behind Gen Z, they're coming up. They'll be 16 here pretty soon. They'll enter our area 2026, I believe it is. The numbers here. Yeah. It becomes a whole other set of implications, like you mentioned, with change.
Yeah.
So got to stay fresh with that stuff.
Have you ever read that book and said, "Who Moved My Cheese"?
Yeah.
I think that's a required reading in the military. People don't like change, but you got to find out what makes young adults and people be motivated. I always tell everybody when I go to talk to groups of people and I ask them to raise their right hand and just say, "I will." And when they say, "I will," I tell them, I said, what you just did, you said, "I'm willing to die for the freedoms of our country." And it's just, it takes a special person to be in the United States military, whether or not it's the Army or all the other stuff. But I love the Army, of course. But it takes a special person to wear that uniform and defend the freedoms of our country. Hold that thought. I don't want you guys to go anywhere. I'm so pumped up, I can't stand it right now. We're talking with Major David Huffman and Major Sheena Rubin from the Army Enterprise Marketing Office. And you're watching Your Next Mission video podcast with me, your host, Jack L. Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major. And don't forget, if you're enjoying the discussion, if you're not, something's wrong with you. Something's wrong. Go somewhere else. Leave me alone. But if you're enjoying this discussion, please like us. Click on that subscribe button below. Also, click on the bell next to the subscribe button to receive notifications about all of our upcoming podcast releases. Major Huffman, would you talk about the foundational research you did to understand the perception of young people and have about the Army?
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. So foundational research, one of the things that we took a look at, we talked to 6,000 parents and influencers that, as I mentioned before, showed us that we had some brand gaps. That led us to develop a number of different options to be able to close those brand gaps. So following that foundational research, we developed logos, we developed a number of tagline options. We interviewed folks across the Army because we wanted to learn, what does the Army stand for? We talked a little bit about how quickly things are changing for us, how quickly the world is changing around us, and the requirement for the Army to be able to not only keep up and outpace the world that's changing around us. One of the things we also wanted to understand, and from a brand perspective, we needed to understand what is that core that does not change. We needed to be able to distill what the Army stands for all the way down to its foundational essence. What does the Army provide that nobody else provides? And that's what we've termed in the marketing world positioning. And that positioning is one word: possibilities. So if you think about other other analogous corporations. Think about Disney. Disney has magic. Volvo has safety. The Army has possibilities. And that is that foundation that it doesn't change. The Army has offered possibilities for 248 years. It's going to continue to offer possibilities. And those possibilities exist both in what you can do and the different opportunities, but also the possibility within. So that what we call self-actualization, the chance to become the best version of yourself. So we tested this. We tested the different options. We tested taglines against the foundation of possibilities. We tested it against the idea, does this tagline, does this logo, does this look and feel represent purpose, passion, community connection? And we tested it with those 5 different audiences, the youth, parents, and influencers, as well as soldiers, veterans, and the American people. Because we know that if soldiers, if veterans, if the American people don't buy it, it's going to be, even if prospects buy it, it's going to be less effective than it would be if everybody is on board and everybody's pulling and rowing in the same direction to be able to close some of these gaps.
Yeah. Did you have any naysayers on Be All You Can Be when you started it? Do you have anybody say, I don't want to do that? Or did anybody say that I don't think it'll work or whatever? Yeah,
it wasn't 100%. It was not 100%, but it was by far the best performer. So among our different options, Be All You Can Be did outperform. In every single one of those audiences, it outperformed our other options.
Yeah.
Was not 100%. I think there are some people who think, like, well, that doesn't reflect, it's old, it's tired. And so the idea that we are not bringing it back, but we are reinventing it for this current generation is one that, I mean, frankly, the creative had to be right on for it to be able to accomplish what we wanted it to accomplish.
Yeah. Hey, Major Rubin, from a recruiting point of view, with the Army having so many MOSs, educational opportunities to choose from, you would think that the idea would play an important role in this campaign. Does it?
Oh, yeah. So for sure. So great question there. So just to start, of course, we use all strategic documentation, starting with the Sessions G1 mission letter, of course, that determines like what those critical MOSs are. And then we get senior leader guidance, of course, out of the Pentagon and also internal. But the key here is talking to USEREC and TRADOC about those training seats that are available in the summer for shipping, to actually have those sessions. They're critical. But we also have to find a balance to appeal to the youth and influencers to show the unique opportunities, the unique MOSs, over 200 that the Army has that other branches may not have.
Yeah.
So yeah, they may get smaller field, but we have cool things, for lack of better words, that appeal. And also we have to realize too that some people, as we mentioned earlier, the motivators and the terrorists, they might not want to go be in a combat MOS. They might want to be logistics, or they might want to be, in a healthcare field or STEM. Different motivators there. So definitely all consideration, and a sneak peek behind the curtain too. We're going to be doing some things here pretty soon, a couple of weeks almost, to focus on MOSs in this campaign for future launches coming out here over the summer.
Yeah. One of the other things that's critical to us is, and I got to tell you, I got to brag on myself again. When I came in the Army, there wasn't a tremendous. I always brag on myself. I love bragging on myself, but there wasn't a tremendous focus on education. And now I know in the Army, if somebody comes in stage 3 or 4 or 6 years, there's a tremendous focus on getting associates or bachelors or masters. I tell people all the time that usually now people that kick in doors, 11 Bravos, and any combat arms MOS, you look at the majority of them that stay a few years, they probably have bachelor's and master's degrees. I think that's a pretty good thing for people that are young adults that want to come into the military. If you want to get your education, the Army is a good place to go. The other thing is, and you said it a minute ago, I had it wrong the other day when we was talking. I said 150, 200 MOSs in the Army that you can select and do anything that you want to do. So the door's open. If you want to come in, but you have to be, physically fit, mentally tough, and ready to do the work of the United States Army. We have a lot more to talk about. So I'm going to tell you something right now. Don't you go anywhere.
We're not moving.
We got a lot more to talk about, so don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're watching Your Next Mission Video Podcast.
You're watching Your Next Mission Video Podcast, proudly presented by Navy Federal Credit Union, the most trusted credit union owned by members of the military community, serving all branches of the armed forces and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Purdue Global, providing affordable online education for hardworking adults. Learn more about a personalized, innovative, and world-class education at purdueglobal.edu. Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're blessed to be here today with Major David Huffman and Major Sheena Rubin from the Army Enterprise Marketing Office. And I want all our viewers to reach out to directly. Tell us about your transition. You know, we want to help you just as much as we can to help you transition out of the military. Tell us what topics you'd like us to cover. You know, I can't do it by myself. I need your help. Tell me what you want me to talk about. You can call or text me at 844-424-1134. And guess what? I'll actually reach back out to you. Or send me an email at smatilley@yournextmission.org. You know, we're heading into our final segment today, and I know I've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it just as much as I have. I just have a couple more questions. Okay. Major Huffman, you ready to answer them? I know you are. I know you had to pull the first Be All You Can Be ads shortly after launch. Could you tell us, or would you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely, SMA. Because I think this is something that it's always a risk anytime you use people. We use a celebrity narrator in 2 of our creative pieces. A few weeks into the campaign, an incident happened in which he was accused of misconduct. So the importance of the campaign, we've talked a little bit about the fact this is setting the foundation. This is at a critical time in the campaign to be able to reposition the Army and what it stands for in the minds of prospects and their influencers. It's also getting the internal Army on board, and we have a number of different media channels we're using to do that. So we didn't have enough time to be able to take a look and let the situation play out. We had to act really, really quickly. It was right around the time of March Madness, so we replaced the videos that had him narrating with some of our other Be All You Can Be spots. We replaced that within, I believe, 12 hours from the allegations to replacement in media. So maintain the brand campaign momentum. And I think it's thanks to really the key actions on the part of our media partners as well as our ad agency partners, we were able to get that done very, very quickly and continue. I mean, like we said before, like this campaign is really important for setting the chassis. We had to be able to keep moving and maintain that campaign momentum. And I think overall what we're seeing is we've been able to do that despite that initial setback.
You know, change is part of the Army. If you can't adapt to change, I mean, I would say when I was a senior NCO or even an officer in the Army, that I mean, probably in any given day, you probably have to make 10 or 15 decisions about things that you haven't changed. And so that's just part of us and part of that we need to do. And you don't get frustrated about it. Just do it. Do what's best. In fact, I had somebody one time that came to my office and gave me some great advice. He said, when I got to be the Sergeant Major of the Army, let me give you a couple of words of advice. And I said, what's that? He said, don't change who you are. So don't the Army change who they are. He said, the second thing is 50% of the people like you and 50% of the people won't like you. So when you make a decision based on what's right for the United States Army. And that's what you're doing. You're making a decision what's right for the Army and the people that want to come into the Army to change their lives. Major Rubin, even though the commercial was a centerpiece of the launch, there was so much going on, like National Integrated Media Plan and the local activation. Would you talk about that?
Yeah, that's a great point too. Like again, the film, that initial ad that we put in air was a point to start, but it's enduring. Like I mentioned, we're in the expand phase and sustain. So I was fortunate enough to be double tasked and had additional duty to be on the media team during this launch as well. But my partners, team, about 6 of us, I believe, so many great things. From America's Got Talent, America's Ninja Warrior. Yes. Wait a minute.
Hold right there. I can sing. I don't know if you know that or not. I'm a singer. I'd love to get on America. Oh, no, good. Never mind. Go ahead.
I think you might be on a soldier soul. So I don't know. Maybe I saw you tour around America one day. But and I came from the old guard, by the way. I was a protagonist in the old guard. So it was great to see MDW come on the net and help support to showcase, TUSAB, the Army band, things like that, to do these things. Also, there's some multicultural things happening in Houston in a couple of months here with the Complex Magazine Career Fest. We can even go as far to smaller things. I'm renting out a movie theater next month with Sergeant Major of the Army Current is going to come out here and talk to prospects and influencers as well for a movie screening private of Guardians of the Galaxy on May 5th.
Yeah.
All part of this plan. But the big centerpiece for this integrated media plan that launched Be All You Can Be, of course, is NCAA, that partnership I mentioned earlier in this. So I was on ground in Dallas for the women's tournament. We had this great new asset, House of Possibilities, that shows you 3 different rooms. We strap you up, you get a video, and you get a selfie of you simulating a free fall. And you get hoisted up in the air, and the floor moves around you to simulate that. You have the wind in the air, too, as well. In the
Yeah, yeah.
A fire room as well, a diver room. And then go over to the men's side in Houston. The team was there, and I believe you were there.
I was. Yeah, so Houston, we had what was called the impossible shot. So if you can imagine a 40-foot basketball hoop in the air outside of the arena, NRG Stadium, in Houston. And we had a number of different, we had a javelin, we had a mortar, we had a UAS that would help different prospects and people be able to launch a basketball 40, 50 feet in the air and make it into this 40-foot video. I think we have some video that we might be able to share as a part of this that captures that impossible shot. It was a really fun aspect of the job is going down to Houston and being able to launch basketballs 40 plus feet in the air and trying to make them into the hoops. And
I would,
part of that.
For those people listening, I'd have to have a mortar tube and pump it 40 or 50 feet out there.
So we had a mortar as well.
Oh, is that right?
We had a mortar, we had a javelin, we had.
Oh my goodness! I got 3.5 great grandbabies now, and my other one of my Ethan the other day for school he wore an Army shirt, says Army on it, and then he put an American flag. And he posed for it, and he asked his mother where he got the idea. He said from the movie The Little People or something like that, with the American flag and I thought, that's pretty neat. Kids really. I wish there was a way to get closer to younger kids and educate them about the military. I'm going to do all I can to educate my grandkids about the military. Hopefully they'll go in. My granddaughters wouldn't do that because they didn't like the uniforms. They said they didn't want to wear uniforms, but maybe I can get the guys to go. I don't know what the heck. Hey, Major Huffman, what can you expect, or what can we expect in the next few months to launch on Be All You Can Be as it continues?
Yeah, so we are hot and heavy in the creative and development process for the next iteration of the big campaign spots. So we're on phase 2 of the campaign. So currently in the creative and production phase. So you can expect that expect to see the outputs of that as early as early fall coming up this year.
Oh,
so
great.
Very excited about what's coming next. It's a much closer look at different MOSs, a much in-your-face look in a good way, and being able to showcase some of the prospect stories that are out there and that could be. So very, very excited to highlight the next generation of possibilities for everybody who will sign up in the future.
Will we ever bring back Tony Shoemaker, the dragster, had be All You Can Be on that or something like that? I always love that.
Hey, I'll just say nothing's off the table. You can bring that, we can do it.
All right. Well, hey, look here. First of all, let me say it's been so much fun talking to you guys. You really have made my day, and I just from this old soldier, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing for our country, and for our veteran community, of course, for active duty. And our military spouses. You guys are making a difference, and just keep up the hard work. There's a lot of people out there that want to help you, and they'll do all they can to help. So reach out to them. Figure out a way to get to them. It's tough. I know it's tough because veterans are scattered all over our country, and probably in every country in the world, I'm sure. But they love the military, and they'll do all they can. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to share with the audience? Major Huffman, I guess we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I think, SMA, you hit on it, which is, we launched this campaign, and the idea behind it is we needed everybody on board. We need people to really, truly be able to tell the stories about how the Army made them the best version of themselves and made them the best version of themselves going forward. So, how do we reach veterans to be able to tell that story? This is one part of that. So just encourage everybody out there, tell your story, because they're powerful and they make a difference. They make a difference across the board as people are deciding how do they want to spend the rest of their life.
There you go. Major Rubin, I know that you're the leader of this pack, so we want to make sure you've got any final thoughts, man? Anything you want to say?
Well, yeah, Major Huffman summed it up right there. The point is, just trying to tell people, tell your story. You never know who's listening. Like you mentioned, how can we reach the kids? I know we have our target audience here that we're focusing on, that's 17 and above, but I have a young daughter. She's 7. They model, they listen, they watch, they see. So it's important. So tell your story. You never know who's listening, maybe not directly, but indirectly, and, post and share. And I just want to tell you, I appreciate all you're doing for us, what you did in the uniform and out as well. This is great. This is phenomenal. And to be able to allow us to be on a showcase what we're doing up here for the Army, in concert with our sessions partners, we really appreciate it. And I also look forward to, possibilities in the future to help both of us for the Army, of course. So thanks for having us, Sergeant Major.
Well, I'll tell you, myself and Ted Acker, the co-founders of our foundation and Your Next Mission, we've already agreed that we're going to do all we can to help the military, our country, until the day we die. So we want to do all we can to make sure that, you get the right kind of people, and we get the word out as much as we can, all the great things that goes on in the military. Unfortunately, sometimes we if you read the news, you'll think all these bad things. And I say, wait a minute, you can say one thing, but reality is the Army is the best place for a young adult to grow up and be who they want to be all they can be. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
We'll see you in Chicago soon, hopefully.
I hope so. Thanks to Major David Huffman and Major Sheena Rubin from Army Enterprise Marketing Office for being with us today. I'm Jack L. Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major Army, and you've been watching Your Next Mission video podcast, and thank you for watching today. Please visit our website at yournextmission.org and leave me a review. I always say I hope it's a good review, but if it's a bad one, just like the Army, I love it. If it's a bad one, I can take it. But we want to make it better for all of us. It's not about me. It's about us. It's about our family. It's about the military family. You can also visit our nonprofit partners there who can provide you with so many services that will assist you in your transition from the military. We want to help you. So look on that website. Check it out. Please visit our corporate partners there and see all the jobs that are available. You're not by yourself. We're going to help you. Please know us, all of us, we want to assist you any way we can. Follow me on all my personal social media channels. I never thought I'd ever say this. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Rumble. And if you enjoyed this discussion, if you didn't, something's wrong with you, with Major Huffman and Major Rubin, please like us. Click on that subscribe button below. And also, don't forget, click on the bell next to the subscribe button too. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Please leave me a message or send me a text at 844-424-1134 or send me an email at SMA Tilley, yournextmission.org. Thanks again to Major Huffman and Major Sheena Rubin for joining us today. It was just great having them on the show. You would never notice that I'm excited and motivated because I love Army people on the show. Hey, look, I'm going to tell you something. The Army changed my life. It allowed me to be all I could be. It changed my life. It allowed me to have a better life for me personally. I was a poor kid. I grew up, didn't have much money, but allowed me to change, get an education. I've owned 3 businesses at the same time. It's a perfect life for somebody that wants to grow and develop. So if you're thinking about coming in the military and you're thinking about going anywhere, go in the Army. See what they have to offer you. 200 MOSs that'll change your life. I guarantee you'll be a better person for coming in. So hopefully you'll do what I asked. If you got any questions about the military, contact me. I'll let you know about it. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks to New Mind Studios and, of course, our presenting sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union and Purdue University Global. We appreciate all you do for our military. And as always, see you on the high ground. Hoo-ah!
You've been listening to Your Next Mission, brought to you by the American Freedom Foundation. Learn more by visiting yournextmission.org.